Okay, is everybody, are we starting with 911 first, I take it?
We do, but we gotta make sure we have a quorum yet. We're counting.
He's coming.
So I think there's 14 on 911 now.
And there's
So you
50.
count,
I count.
I think.
I count. On
Hey.
911.
Hey, Sarah, what number does Scott Michelson need to call into?
Yeah, that email Ryan with the Zoom link stuff on it. That's probably the easiest.
I did, but there's 100 numbers on there.
There's only one phone number. I can help you guys. Hold on here. Let me pull it up.
Okay.
So you just need cities though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The reason there's 100 numbers on there because they give you 100 options. All of them lead home. So why don't we just do the one six here? Let me. Is there a place I can send this stuff to, like a text or something?
Yeah.
Give me the phone number if you can, please.
Well, 1 second.
12 cities.
One county and a me.
Phone number is 712-830-1768.
Okay. I went ahead and sent them the meeting info, so they should have it. They just need to call the phone number and enter the information I give them.
Okay.
These are record 6.
Thank you.
County is M. Ingrid,
Yeah, Mike shows up.
and I'm 8. You're
Okay.
good.
Someone else has got into. Okay, 911 meeting has a quorum. Ken, you can start answering that.
Okay, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting? Is there a motion to approve the previous minutes?
I'll make it.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposition? Motion passes. Public hearing for the June 2024 budget. Discussion. Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, so, in your packet or in the meeting materials sent electronically, you have the 911 budget before you. The first one we'll look at is at the top. The title is surcharge revenue fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. The first column is the fiscal year end, June 30th, 2022 actuals. The middle column is the current budget year ending in June of 2023. The estimate of where we believe we'll be at the end of the fiscal year. And then the last column is the budgeted funds. The first line number 1, that's the money left over from the previous budget year. Money that is reserved, not spent. All of our money is reserved because we've got various maintenance contracts and things like that. That are spoken for, so to speak. Still have money coming in to cover those things, but that's the place where the state likes to see us hold our excess funds, we'll say. And then moving down in line 4, that is where the beginning fund balance comes from, is from that previous year. Landline surcharge, you can see that's kind of going down year over year. So we started at 81, 933. For last budget year, we're budgeting a little less in the following 2 budget years, and that's following the trend that we've noticed over many years as fewer people have landline telephones. The wireless surcharge is usually the opposite story. Part of the fiscal year end actuals. You see that increase in line 6 for the 2022 ending budget. That was a little bit of an anomaly of some grant funding that came in, and it was a wireless surcharge grant fund that came in there. So the estimate has been adjusted for this current budget year. Was adjusted when we did that budget. to include $155,000. We appear to be still on track for that. And then we, looking at the projections, based on how the fund has brought in more money for wireless surcharge, we expect that to be $158,500 in fiscal year in 2024. Interest is minimal right now, although it is maybe appropriate. We might talk with the treasurer about whether or not we should have any funds in the CD or not. We currently have none in the CD because the rates have been historically pretty poor. Grant funding, we have some grant funds that kind of come in as a regular course of doing business. Some of that is GIS funds. This is shown up in line 9. So GIS grant money for us keeping our GIS data up to date. The state incentivizes us with some grant funds. And then at the end of the year, there's a pass-through amount that we get sent for any unspent state 911 wireless surcharge money that gets passed down to us. That usually comes in August. So that's accounted for in that line item. And then we take in a little bit of money on the radio and pagers cost share. Any questions about surcharge revenue?
Is the surcharge for landline and cell still different, or has it equalized, or?
Yeah, so it's both $1 per line. For surcharge, for wireline surcharge, the revenue comes directly to Carroll County. I shouldn't say directly, the phone companies collect it and send it to Carroll County. For wireless, it first goes to the state of Iowa. The $1 goes to the state of Iowa, and there's a certain formula they use to pass down wireless surcharge to locals. And I think we get 67 cents on the dollar. The remainder of that is kept by the state to run the network and cover state 911 level expenses. Any other questions about revenue?
I was just gonna say it's.
Okay, so if you're looking at your packet here on the hard copy, you flip the sheet over. For those of you playing along at home, we're going to surcharge fund expenditures. So within this line item, we have advertising and promotion. That's mostly just the cost of publishing our legal publications, the cost of insurance. It had been holding pretty steady, but we've seen some increases in insurance costs lately. Did we lose the Zoom meeting?
No, Ken's
Okay.
still there.
Okay.
Still here.
Messing
All
around.
right, good. So we've seen some increases in the cost of insurance. We used to get kind of a rebate that kind of stopped, and now we're anticipating an increase, so we increase that line item. Training expense, the 911 fund covers a small portion of the cost of training for dispatchers. So I believe we usually pay an online training service, police legal sciences, out of this budget, and cover some other minor training expenses. There's also a considerable training budget on the comm center's operating budget as well. That covers the rest of the training expenses. 911 telephone expense. This is something I've reported on to you guys regularly. We expect that this fee is hopefully going to go away at some point. Right now, the state is still advising us business as usual. The FCC has been looking at some wireline cost recovery as to whether or not they're going to weigh in and say whether or not that's allowable use of 911 funds. And so the state is taking a wait and see approach on the FCC to see what the FCC does before they try to do something legislatively. Here in Iowa, we want to be careful legislatively. We don't codify that. That's the money that 911 phone companies charge to the local 911 fund for the trunks, which is kind of a misnomer because there's no copper trunks anymore. But for the connectivity to the 911 system, they charge us, and historically we've always paid that. There are some jurisdictions that have actually stopped paying altogether, but the state is not advising us to do that at this point, but we continue to pay those fees. 911 database management is same $35,000 that the 911 fund reimburses the comm center for. It's the work that I do related to database and systems management for the 911 system and its related technology. The 911 sign expense, these are the expenses related to 911 signage in rural areas. So the 911 rural signs, the rural addressing signs for the houses, as well as the intersection markers. We've got a contractor that does the residential signage, and secondary roads takes care of the post, or rather the intersection signage, when that needs to be replaced or repaired. And I believe we only pay materials on that, but they bill us for that once a year. Just kind of depends on whether or not their stock gets low and how much they restock as to where that lands, which is why you see that kind of low figure for the 2022 budget. Telephone equipment repair and maintenance. Typically, we've not held a maintenance agreement on the phone equipment. That phone equipment was replaced today, actually, from the previous project that's been approved. So there is an annual maintenance fee that's going to go along with that. As part of the state's shared services 911 system, we're required to have that maintenance fee to keep everything up to date. And so that's why that goes up to $65,000 in the next budget year. Radio equipment repair and maintenance, just for various expenses, batteries, peripherals, mic cords, stuff like that. Other equipment repair and maintenance, that's where we pay for other maintenance fees and software subscriptions, things like that. That can fluctuate kind of from year to year, depending on, sometimes we have multi-year contracts and pay a couple of years or 3 years at a time or something. So sometimes that goes up and down depending on where those maintenance contracts land. Contracted services, that was previously where we were employing the radio consultant, with the radio project being done and signed off on now. We don't anticipate any more of those costs, so those go away. Communications tower and equipment. This is the maintenance expense that we have on the state wide radio enhancement for this system that we locally built out here. So that covers that expense. That is a lot more than what we expected or what we anticipated or used to see in world stuff, but you can see it wasn't nothing. We were having quite a few repair costs on the old system as well.
Is that old interoperability crap or no?
Yeah, so there's a statewide radio system, and we added on to that, so we have portable coverage here, and that's the maintenance expense that we pay for that.
Okay.
We've got 4 towers.
So related to
they're
all that
together.
interoperability
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. The PSAP other equipment, that is money that's slated for the logging recorder replacement. Logging recorder is about 11 years old. And even the vendors kind of like, I know we make good stuff, but come on, it's probably due to replace that. So IT equipment, usually you go about 5 years. We've gotten good life out of that recorder. So that's an estimate of what we think that's going to cost to replace in the next budget year. And the other slot is just the kind of the funds that we use when various small pieces of IT peripherals and equipment and things might be needed within the comm center. So that brings our total to 344, 328 for expenditures. We have an anticipated fund balance ending 168,955. All of that gets assigned to being reserved for future use. We have a plan for it, basically is what we're saying there. And that's so that's the figure that we would start the following budget with if everything went perfectly fine here. I will point out that yes, we do look like we're spending money out of reserves. 911 typically does not spend everything we budget to spend. And so that figure is usually much higher. We usually budget to spend quite a bit and oftentimes get close to breaking even. But that's to be anticipated. So I'll take any questions about expenses.
I'm gonna follow up with the surcharge that I wanted to follow up and I forgot, but, it's been $1 forever. Has there been any kind of push to bump it at all?
There's been discussion about that. The advice that we get, so we run a pretty tight ship in the sense that we've got a little bit of reserve, but we don't get crazy with reserve. We replace our equipment and keep it current. Some places are scraping by, some 911 funds are really scraping by and are in really tough shape. And then others are just flush with cash. And some of that has to do with the formula, maybe about how that wireless surcharge is sent out, because call volume is part of that. Some counties have more than one PSAP, so that affects them. And so the problem is that statewide, that takes legislators to change. And if the legislator looks at all of the 911 funds as a group, it looks like 911 is sitting on a bunch of cash. So we know that's not the case here. We got a little bit of money, but you know, we're one catastrophe away from needing to use most of that to replace some big equipment or something. So, you know, I don't foresee them making a change in that $1 anytime soon, but certainly when you have, you know, 8 and 10% inflation in a year, you start to wonder how we're gonna continue to be able to pay for
It was $1 in 2009 and
Yeah.
way
All-
before then.
All of our increase in revenue has to count on growth of cell phone plans and mobile data
Yeah.
devices.
Because wireless.
Didn't they
used to
start
be
at
on.
expense on the wireless? And then
I think they
bumped it up to
That's why I
$1
asked, because
10, 12
Yeah,
years ago,
maybe.
when it started flip flopping, the
Yeah.
airlines were
Yeah.
seeing that
Yeah.
cell phones went crazy.
well, and I know we're making budget, you know, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I mean, are the department's needs met?
Well, we just got that new system. So then everybody got a new radios and new,
Everybody's got their stuff they need.
the new system paid for all the departments too, all the radios.
Upgrade all the radio systems.
It is, yeah, I mean, it is gonna be, you know, and the radios are much more expensive than they were before, so,
It has to.
different technologies, so.
Okay, I don't want to
it
belabor
is-
it any, but I just, you know, if everybody's getting their needs met, and that's fine, but.
What
it's
about
been
towers?
$1 forever.
What's that?
What about towers? We're gonna need more places. Do we have any dead spots or we're gonna need towers to
I don't,
change it?
no, I don't anticipate that. We've got 99% portable on-street coverage with the current radio system. And, we've got neighboring counties that are bringing on their own enhancements that are gonna hopefully bleed some coverage over into us, and we'll work with them to have agreements to allow their talk groups to work on our
Both
towers.
ways.
And their tower, or our talk groups to work on theirs so that we can bleed that coverage and everybody benefits.
Calhoun County's tower is up there between Laurel and Lake City. It's not online yet, but it's.
Yeah,
the tower
it's in the
is already
air.
in place.
It's in the air. Sac County, basically every county around us, except for Crawford, is in some sort of state of building out on A6. So Sac County and Calhoun County are building out their own system. Green County is trying to get something going, and trying to do the funding. Guthrie County wants to do something, but they got a jail problem.
About Audubon.
Audubon is building a tower.
Really?
Yep, they've already got their consoles on, and Shelby County is looking to do something
Okay.
as well. So, you know, I guess I'll pat myself on the back and say, I think we were a leader in Western Iowa in that area. And I think that was a good move for us, but, we're gonna be hopefully benefiting from that bleed over coverage from some of those.
Yeah.
Some not, some, they have to build their towers based on what their needs are.
Sure.
But where it's gonna benefit us, we'll try to, I'm really optimistic about the Lakeview site, so.
Green County did pass a bond issue on that.
Yeah, you're right,
Yeah,
Green County's
they did, they
passed.
passed it, so it's just a matter of getting it built
Yep,
now.
yep, they're doing it, they're working on it, using the same consulting firm that we did, yep. So, any other questions about, expenses?
Don't get much for the dollar.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do a roll call vote or just an A or an A?
You have to close the public hearing.
We closed the public hearing at 6:20. Is there a motion to do so?
Ryan will make a motion.
Second,
Second,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None. How do we want to do the vote here?
I think we've always just done a voice vote. I don't think we've ever done a roll call.
Is Jeremy on there?
Jeremy, can you identify? We
Yeah.
need to get you- Oops,
Oh, I'm
Jeremy
sorry, it's
moved.
not showing my last name. It should be Jeremy Douglas.
Douglas, thank you, Ralston.
Elected official?
Are you elected?
Thank God, no.
Okay.
That's a quick answer.
You wanna be?
Yeah, would you like to be? We can.
And then Tyler Huffman. What's
Uh,
down?
Chief Manning,
Elected.
no.
Okay. I sent it to Bob Barsby. He said he was working on it.
Okay.
You just have to save lives.
And then who's the number on the bottom? Is that Scott Michelson? I know Dalton was working with him.
1768, can you identify your number?
Yeah,
Oh,
Scott Michelson.
thank you,
Okay.
Scott.
Yep.
Okay,
All
Chair,
right.
I think we're ready for a
Are-
vote.
Vote.
You need a motion to approve the budget first. Yeah. Yeah. Motion to approve the budget. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion passes.
Oh, way.
Thank you. Moving on to new business with Ragbri planning, just to let since we met last, we learned that Carroll will be an overnight town. I've started some discussions, with some state level folks. It's kind of twofold. One is whether or not we're gonna need the mobile command vehicle. The reason I would request that from DPS is mostly for the extra call taking position and radio position that it would have in it. Either as a backup to our center in case we would have something happen or we would need to switch to it. Or in order to expand space at our center if we felt like we needed an extra call taking position. I did participate last year in assisting with communications in Ida County and Ida Grove when they were an overnight town. So I don't think it's probably gonna be necessary to expand the number of positions for Ragbri based on the call volume that they saw. But having a plan in place might be a good idea. The other side of that coin is radio communications. So I've also started talking with the state about what assets we can bring in. I am a trained communications leader for large scale planned or unplanned events. I'm already talking to the state assets about what state assets like a radio cache and repeater and things like that we can bring to Carroll, tie into our radio system and help support that event. So it would be important for planners to involve me in those discussions about what the needs are of the Ragbri committee and the staff on communications, because what I saw done in Ida County worked really well. I'd like to replicate it here and make sure that whatever radio communications are going to be used is something that I can support and the comm center can get some sort of connectivity to in case we need those communications to happen. For most of the event, it's probably not necessary, but having a bridge, if we have a storm, if we have some sort of disaster, maybe event is going to be important. So I want to make sure we plan that carefully. So looking forward to being invited to meetings and being involved in those conversations.
Scott Johnson has agreed to be the point for the county.
Okay.
And he's going to attend the regular meetings. The exec board meets every week. And then the ancillary board meets every other week.
Okay.
And Scott knows that schedule and he's agreed. I mean, I'd be glad to follow back up with you
Sure.
every time, but I don't want to be
Nope.
redundant.
No, that's fine. I talked to,
Scott
I
has
did
said he's
talk
gonna
to
do
Scott
it.
about it. I just want to throw it out there, make sure
Yeah,
that.
I'll do
it's
whatever
talked
you
about.
want to do, but I don't want to overdo it.
No, we just, and then whatever the needs are of the police department, will be addressed to, but Brad and I can work on that.
Brad, have
obviously.
they formed an actual public safety committee yet?
I think they have a chair, from what I
Yeah.
understood, talking to
The,
Chad, but I haven't heard anything yet.
The auctioneer, the Polly's are gonna be,
TJ, yeah.
yeah,
Because what we had talked about, Jason, at one meeting, we had Sarah from the hospital was there. We had Jamie from the ambulance. Brad, sent Ken an email. And ultimately, my assumption, and I'm kind of on the committee, but I'm off here, so you too, but my assumption was it would be you, the ambulance, the hospital, the sheriff, the police chief, Sarah. And TJ is the chair, I guess he'll coordinate all.
I think Borelli is gonna be involved with that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Yep, so, yeah, just throwing that out there, that, you know, want to be involved so that we plan it early and often.
So err on over communicating. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, and, you know, you know, I think last time, Jeff, you probably remember, they did a lot of renting of radios for the event,
I'm
right?
trying to remember.
I found, I know, I found like invoices and stuff in a file,
Yeah,
and I think we can avoid that altogether using state radio caches.
yeah, and Brad's got a file.
Yeah, but I didn't see anything with radios
No,
on.
I got a bunch of radio stuff and communication stuff in a file, so I think Cindy got that. Hold
We
on
had
to
the
that.
10 that I had, and then we got the neighboring. There was like
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
and we passed those out to somebody.
The state's got a trailer with a repeater that we can link radio systems together and all sorts of cool things. And Luke Erpelman.
Yeah.
Is at state radio, and he coordinates a lot of
Is
that
he
stuff.
still in Strong Lake? or
Yeah,
something?
he's the director, so.
Oh, he's here,
Yeah, so him and I work together really well, so, you know, we've already been talking about it on what we can do, and so I just. You know, I don't want to get too far down planning things on my end without knowing what the committee needs are, you know,
You got it.
but I know it's early, so. Just bring that up, and letting the board know, how that's going.
Moving on to
business. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to take your job, Ken. Old business, the Comm Center CPE update, the phone system was replaced today. So I've been at it since 6 o'clock this morning. I'm a little bit fried in that respect, but the old phone system was migrated to a new call taking, call processing equipment system. Part of that shared services, like I've reported to the board about in the past. We migrated 911 phones first this morning. And so we actually had one position working on the old phone system, taking admin calls. And the other phone position, the other communications position, taking 911 calls, and that's about when everybody started to go in the ditch and flip their vehicles today, so that was interesting.
I see the one still on the bid.
So it went fine. Raycom and Zetron are the vendors on that. They did a good job in working through things. And then we worked and got the admin stuff migrated over first the city and then the county, and then replaced the first position with the whole new phone system. So they're all up and operational. Still working the bugs out of that, obviously, but it went as well as could be expected today. So happy to report on that. And then the last thing I have, operational rapid assistance package update. Report on this at the last meeting. You may remember this is a federal assistance program through CISA, cybersecurity and information. So I don't know, I'm getting it wrong, but through FEMA, basically, this group came in. They met with a bunch of the public safety folks. We talked about what systems we have, talked about the various needs for primarily centered around EMS communications, but kind of touching all branches of communications. And looking at just ways that we can leverage what we already have in place and use things better for that. So that took place. That first meeting was kind of an information gathering meeting with the committee that's formulating everything. They're going to send us a written report about that meeting. And throughout the course of the year, culminating by the end of September, we will do some small exercises, some trainings. There'll be some policy recommendations handed down to us to review, and then culminating with some sort of a larger scale incident to try to put the proof into the policy changes and things to practice those changes and kind of compare and contrast what first kind of mini exercises revealed compared to what a larger scale incident reveals with the updated policies. So that's a project that I'll be working on and working on with the ambulance director primarily, and bringing in other public safety leaders as necessary. So that's going on. I want to roll back to one thing about RAGBRAI planning that I want to mention. There are two kind of communications programs that are really helpful during RAGBRAI events or any large scale event. GETS, GETS, at a loss of what that is at the moment, and WPS, Wireless Priority Service. GETS is, if you remember the old calling cards, like a long distance card you might give to your kid, or I don't know. I worked with them at Quakerdale when I worked there. The kids all had their own calling cards so they could make a long distance call. Had so many minutes loaded on it. Works similar to that, but when you use that card, it gives you priority on a wireline network if you're trying to call somewhere and the lines are congested. And WPS is a wireless priority service attached to a single cell phone number that allows you to amend it with, thank you, yes, the Government Emergency Telecommunications Service. Thank you. And so WPS allows wireless priority. What I've started to do is get GETS and WPS set up for all the county first responders, so ambulance, sheriff's office, comm center, as well as some of the public officials at the county level. Any department that wants to, we can work it one of two ways. I'm happy to be the point of contact for a department to get some key personnel on that program, maybe officers or something. Or if they want their whole department on it, they can just become their own point of contact, however they want to work it. But if you're going to be working along the route or in the overnight town as public safety, and you want your phone to work without interruption, those two things are pretty good things to have in mind, as well as having a FirstNet device for public safety. And I'm waiting, we're trying to have an event this spring to do an informational meeting where FirstNet and AT&T will come and do a presentation one evening to public safety about what FirstNet is, and get you guys some information about that for anybody that's interested. So I'll get that information out as soon as I have it, hoping it's sometime in the beginning of March, but they haven't given me the final. They're supposed to be getting me some promotional materials to send out, so I'm gonna be checking on that and hopefully later this week. So other than that, I will end there. That's all I have.
You've been on FirstNet, haven't you, right now?
Yes.
How's it working? Do you have any?
I'm on it too.
Yeah, it's
He's on it.
phenomenal. It's
Switch my personal phone to.
If you go south of town and you're on anybody else, you drop calls. I don't drop calls on FirstNet. My speed is really fast, and I haven't found anywhere where my US Cellular phone worked that my FirstNet phone doesn't.
Okay.
So
I switched and my whole family switched. If you're in Manning, it's a no-brainer. There's a tower in Manning. If you're in Coon, it's a no-brainer. There's a tower in Coon, so it works really well there. 3 in Carroll, 1 by Swan Lake, 1 by the church, by Van Meter, and then here at the courthouse. And then,
No, it's on the water. No, it's at Pleasant Ridge and Grant Road.
and then southeast of Roselle. So I think that solved that problem. So,
Carroll Police Department switched to FirstNet. The Sheriff's Office and ambulance is on FirstNet. It's pretty good.
I was down at the AT&T store in Ames on Saturday, and they showed me a map of Iowa, the US Cellular versus the FirstNet.
Yeah.
Basically, everything in Iowa is 5G, but one small portion over by Decorah or something, they have one little area that there's kind of.
Yeah.
And it's that way with US Cellular, Verizon, whatever, all have that same dead area, but other than that, it's 5G pretty much everywhere in the state of Iowa.
Audubon's a little sluggish.
Audubon's a little sparse, and far southwest Iowa, they're still doing some build out down there, but it's pretty good. So I'm not here to sell anybody's cell phone service, but the important thing about FirstNet is that for public safety, it gives
You have the
you,
priority with it.
it gives you priority and preemption, especially on the data side. So, last time Ray came through and we were pass through county, I knew where the route was at based on how many mock icons turned off on my screen. And I knew when the bulk of the riders had left because I started seeing mock icons become active along the route again. And, you know, we couldn't make calls to the route without gets cards. Nobody on the route was able to make calls out. So we had some people that were relying on cell phones that didn't get those communications done. You know, that guts and WPS is not as tight of a group as FirstNet is. So more government officials and things like that can have it, but it's something I do advocate for. It's like, when am I ever gonna need this? And then you think you're never gonna need it until that one time that you do need it, and you're really glad you have it, so. Something to.
We'll make sure, because they're supposed to be coming, so you can give a presentation, so that it doesn't seem like we are salesmen.
Yeah.
It's like I caved and I did it, and it was like, why didn't I do this sooner? And he's like, I've been trying to get there.
So is it, and also new.
It's always that
cell
way.
phone service, It's an underlying cell.
It's a public safety grade cell phone network. And I'll
That anybody
say,
can have?
quote, no,
First
for
responders.
first responders, so
Oh,
fire, EMS. And then they have kind of extended primary users that include like utilities and stuff who can get on it when they are part of an incident supporting something.
Is it just?
I hate to interrupt here, guys. Anybody wants to stay after about this, let's move the meeting on.
you got it.
We went a little bit over on the projected time here, so
Okay, so
is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Templeton.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposition? So moved. Thank you, guys.
What would you argue about Darren?
Okay, but we only have 7 elected officials. There's a lot of people here, but we need one more. So we either need Templeton, we would need Manning, we would need Ralston. Need somebody to call an elected official.
I will call one, see if I can get one to answer.
Templeton is working on it. Unless, are you working? Or can, somebody's got to phone a
Could drop
friend.
some ballots quick and elect him to
Somebody's
something.
gotta phone a friend. Fire chiefs are kind of elected.
Yeah.
But we can still call a meeting to order. We just need it for the vote.
Okay, and they're working on trying to find another person, right?
I've
Templeton,
got 2 of them I can call.
yep.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order for the Carroll County Emergency Management. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for today?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? None, motion passes. Approval of the minutes for the January 25th meeting.
So moved.
Second? Thought I heard a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? None. Let's see, it is. Dang, every time I hit my button, my phone shrinks. February 22nd at 6:39. Call the public hearing to order. Do you want to go over the budget quick, Sarah?
Hey, Corey. Hey, I'm gonna put you in speakerphone. You're gonna be a voting member for Templeton. Are you back?
Okay, we got Corey who?
Corey Drees. Of the Templeton City Council.
Okay, Corey, we're going over the emergency management budget. We had a meeting in January and we went over all of this, so this is just gonna be a review.
Okay.
The first page is talks about the revenues. So we're coming in with a beginning fund balance, that first column. item number one, $47,680. The county contributed $34,450. This year, they're contributing $25,000, second line, second column. Every year, the hazmat is run through emergency management as well. And we collect $31,224 because that's a per capita thing to have hazmat through Region 5 in Fort Dodge. And then every year, emergency management receives roughly an $18,000 federal government grant for emergency management to offset some of the costs. So that's listed on the budget. ICAP also has a grant for public safety. It's $1,000 every year. So this year, I'll be receiving last year's in this year, and then I'm gonna be filling out the other one. So this year says 2,000, just because I'm receiving them in the same fiscal year. Turning over the back, budget basically mimics what it has for the last decade. First line is salary, FICA IPERS, there's no health insurance, vehicle maintenance. The vehicle always goes to Dwayne's repair. They treat us well. The office supplies, Rima paper, printer, toner, you know, here and there. Last year we spent $492, so I put $500 in again. The legal notices, 103, I budgeted 115. Postage, mileage, you know, once in a while I'll have to fill up for gas if you go further than filling up at the county depot. Telephone would be the internet and just part of my cell phone bill. Education and training, we always do host some trainings and do some trainings in the county, so I put 2,500 there. Line 38 is the biggest thing that we're adding this year. We are doing a school safety training in August of 2023. We're bringing in trainers from Colorado through the I Love You Guys Foundation. It is going to be a training that will benefit all the school districts in Carroll County to get us all on the same page using, it's called SRM and SRP, the standard response method and standard reunification method for getting kids back with their parents if something were to happen. So since it involved all 5 school districts, and so many people, we voted at the last meeting that we would use some of the carryover money that emergency management had to pay for that training countywide. So that was voted on last month. The Region 5 hazmat is just running that through. The county puts the money in the budget, it goes through, and then we use that as an expense to get that 18,000 back from the federal government. We have to have insurance in case something happens and someone volunteers and we get hurt. And then I belong to the Iowa Emergency Management Association. So it lays out the budget. It's generally around 80,000. It's closer to 100,000 because of that $20,000 training, which we're spending down the reserves for the training. And then the county asking is 34,000, same as it was 2 years ago. And then we'll be spending down some of the reserve money. So.
Okay.
Anybody see any questions?
Do we just close the public hearing?
Yep.
It's 6:44. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve the budget that was presented?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
And we do have a quorum, right?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor of approving this fiscal year budget coming up, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposition? None. Motion so moved. Hey, can I ask Mr. Pat Fay to take over the rest of the meeting? I have another obligation I need to attend to.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, Ken.
All right, later.
The elected
Ken.
official can sign off if they so desire.
Bye.
All right. Moving on to new business. Looks like the first item up for is commission membership.
Just needing signatures of anybody that is here, like from Templeton, Dwayne could sign that. So if you see your name, it's just, every year we have to review the bylaws. Every year we have to review the procurement plan that says that I can't spend more than $5,000 without letting people know. And just everything that we do, since we get that $18,000, has to be bid and everybody knows, so that I'm not, spending federal money in the wrong way. So the easiest way to get the reimbursement back though is to run that hazmat through, because that is a legit expense because we have to match everything we do. So we have to come up with at least $36,000 in expenses.
Okay.
So signing that, 5B is location of the EMA office. So the courthouse is doing a bunch of renovation. And I'm in the basement, always have been. Finally got rid of the orange carpet. But I've always been with Carrie, Kersey, and Sherry, environmental health. And then when COVID hit, our departments worked together because of the preparedness funding. And Carrie's the fiscal agent for that. So the person that I work with the most at the county is Carrie, and then the other person would be Jason. So in order to have office space to move some of these people down, because they're gonna completely clear out this floor, right? They're just looking for places to put. So I think some of the people up here are gonna temporarily go to the sheriff's office, and some other people that don't necessarily need more public are gonna go down to the basement. So environmental health already volunteered to move over to the Fricky building, with the county taking public health back. Kind of put all those people together. Carrie is a co-director of public health. So I've just always been in that office with them. So
Is this a temporary move or is this a permanent
I
relocation?
feel like it would be a permanent move. Yeah, yeah,
It is permanent?
because whatever was over there is leaving.
Carrying hearts or something like that.
And then the county's taking that space back.
Yep.
To, if certain people would have to be relocated, so. 90% of the time, I work from home. I work from my laptop,
So it really doesn't matter. a whole
it
lot
doesn't
for
really
you.
matter.
So no, I mean, there's no,
It's,
I didn't know if it was just a temporary with the courthouse renovations or what you were.
and then when I started, there was two rooms over there that were chocked full of stuff,
Mhm.
full. And we had to sort through all that, and then some of it came here, some of it went into a trailer. And it got moved around again, then some of it got donated to the sheriff's office. I mean, we've just been,
And all those little cots and. shit.
yes.
Yeah.
And then some of them got used during the ice storm, and then one time. We just keep shuffling this stuff around, and then COVID hit and we got a whole bunch of PPE.
Right.
Oh.
So then we were told put it in the jail, because they were not gonna do anything with the jail. They were just, it was just gonna be dead space. But then the HVAC system, right, they had to like start in that room, or just all kinds. So they're like, oh, you gotta move all that PPE, and it was literally in every cell in that jail. So
Yeah,
now
you
we,
taking notes?
yeah, we've moved it 3 times, and it's in a storage unit. So then if they get more, this permanent office space that they would not sublet to another business, I think we could finally have a resting place for that PPE and come full circle, 14 years. And the PPE lands back at the Fricky building.
Yeah, and then somebody will land in the landfill because it never got used. and
So, and
Not our landfill.
we have to keep it. I have been giving it away, like Regency has, they want some more N95 masks, and I've got them to the ceiling in my office, so it just doesn't hurt to give out 100 every time somebody requests them, so. But there is a lot of stuff, so I feel like 2 of the offices over there would be to unload the storage unit again. Cause I think that stuff needs to be in a temperature controlled environment.
Out of curiosity, when places like Regency is asking for that, is that because they're gonna stockpile that in case another pandemic hits, or is that
They just don't have it,
they're taking it and then just
using it, cause somebody tested positive for COVID. Yeah. And it's just, they're spendy, they're spendy, I mean, it's. I put the N95s in that office because like that stack is worth $40,000.
Did they have a
So-
lifespan? I mean, is there, if used by date or?
We used the N95s from 2003 that I was storing for this last one.
I like beer. Jim.
So I'm saying
Don't
those
get better with
things
age.
were 17 years old and that was the style that the hospital wanted.
probably make any difference anyway. It's just.
I just wondering like if the straps and stuff in the mask, if they deteriorated over time or.
I think the N95s are, it's a 3M product and that's what they were. The 2003 ones were 3M. They were 18.
And they probably are better off, the more temperature controlled.
Yes, so I did
Right.
not
The
move those
elastic,
over
yeah.
there,
Yeah,
but it's
exactly.
just, we have literally moved this stuff. This will be time 4.
So what's your
So-
question here on this? Is that?
Do you want me here? Do you care if I move there?
Where would they put you in this?
I have a basement.
But they'll let you stay there.
I have no idea.
It's
I haven't seen
at the time that you work, not in your home, would it be more convenient for you to be closer to Jason or closer to Gary? Or none of the above?
If it's a no school day and I work in the office, I'm always just, they're my friends and I like working with them, so. Like it motivates me to go in the office those days. and
Yeah.
Talk to other people.
We just got
Yeah.
flooded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just by looking
Alright.
at Tricky, but I think there's more room over there. I don't care where you go, but that,
yeah,
there's only 2 girls in environmental service.
yeah.
Excuse me, environmental services. So right now they're running, I think, 6 people out of that office there. So haven't been in there, but I'm assuming there's a ton of room.
So
Yeah,
where's home health out now then?
they're in there too, but they're
But
on,
there's only 2,
so they're in the building, like where the VA,
the old
Yeah.
Plains part
but then there's the door,
on the east side.
yeah, it'd be under DHS.
Okay.
So there's just a
I am
hallway,
into the Court Street pub, so I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Burn, baby, burn.
Phone number's still on the wall over there.
if me moving
Right.
gives the county another office for another person, it does, my stuff
I
can go
don't have a
anywhere.
preference, you guys.
I know, yeah,
I mean,
wherever you, I mean,
Whatever you're comfortable with.
you're the one that's doing the work with it, so whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Okay, and if Jason wants me, I just, I'm over.
Make sure the website gets updated so people know where to
Yeah.
find you on what days or whatever. Yeah, but
Okay,
just as long as people know where you're at.
Are they, what, I know they're tearing out the walls and that down in the basement in the jail, but like where her office and that is across, are they, what's the plan with that?
They're not, other than ceiling replacement, HVAC, Mike, you correct. me. Yeah, there's nothing in the basement's really changing except for the HVAC.
Okay,
Ceiling and
You're
lights,
not getting-
okay,
mhm.
at least in this phase.
No matter.
well, it's fine. You're moving over.
Okay, so Fricky building.
I'm busy the day you're carrying boxes out.
Everybody
early.
is busy.
Start early, don't
We
wait for
moved
me.
him out of the jail too.
Yeah,
It's like,
all right, we'll move on to,
do we wanna make like a motion so that that's on the record?
okay,
I mean, we got the supervisor here, so I'm just,
I'll entertain a motion to approve that Sarah's gonna move over to the Fricky building.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah. perfect.
That was the first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Okay.
Motion carries. All right. We'll move on to the next item on new business. It looks like Ragbri's coming to town overnight.
yeah. So Jason talked about it, everybody heard about it. Brad reached out, I said, certainly I'll be on the committee, so,
I think the big thing they're gonna ask from you is the emergency plans, which we
Yeah.
had from last time.
yeah. So,
I got a template today. I gave it to her.
If you wanna
And-
add a little bit of stuff,
And
but
2
not much.
samples. And there's 2 samples or,
yeah,
and then you can copy them, but it doesn't look horribly involved. You just kind of mirror what you've
Yeah.
already got in place.
the
Yeah, I
biggest
looked
thing
at it.
is,
The active shooter additional, I think was the
And if we have weather, like Jason said, I mean, there have been towns that
Going with,
I don't know.
shelter.
had.
It could be a really,
We had quite a few last thing.
yeah.
so-
Do we need to add a little into the budget to rent bicycles for the two of you to pedal around town and keep an eye on things?
Motorbike golf cart.
We'll get you an e-bike.
Yeah.
It looks like you're.
Yeah.
He's sitting in that communications trailer.
I'm gonna use the old time car.
Yeah.
That'll work.
It's a Ford. I have
Swapping
a
out the
shower
numbers.
when I get out of it.
So just, it's on our radar. We know about it and we'll be there.
Are they planning on camping them like up around the schools again? or-
Yeah.
I mean, all of them then.
So the last time was every park, the schools, the youth sports complex. I'm assuming we're gonna mirror that this
Any
time.
place there's a piece of grass there.
It's only gonna be bigger.
Yeah, yes.
We're apparently, we have like 16 parks,
Yeah.
so they were looking at green space all over town. They were.
Yeah.
Is it bigger than last time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and
It's
it's the
the 50th,
50th
yeah,
It's the
anniversary.
50th anniversary, so it's gonna be.
Entertainment's gonna be it.
No,
Last, Brad,
They
Right now,
They choose.
last I heard it was 20 something.
tentatively at.
Yeah, I'd heard it's over 20,000
that
that
is
signed up.
currently registered.
the old,
Oh, that was 2 weeks.
The
ago.
chamber.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
The,
doesn't count your
Was last.
support
Do they
trailers.
cut it off anywhere?
And-
don't think so.
Just keep taking them.
The only conflict we're gonna see is that they are now pushing to have them on main highways, so 71, 30. Going to be interesting. They're leaving from Carroll going to Glidden on Highway 30.
Yes.
That is for sure. I figured that might be what
They're
they
coming
do.
from Breeden to Carroll, I believe, on Highway 71.
the biggest,
Do you think they will?
busiest section.
I think a ton of them take the trail.
Yeah, we already been
Yeah,
informed of that, and that they were, because we had to sign off on it. To
Wow.
come to Glidden.
But then south,
Trail.
I don't know where they go south. They know they go to Ames from Glidden, or
Oh.
from Carroll to Ames.
They can either, well, they could go south and follow Old 30 and the county roads over, or they can go north up through and
Okay.
Sheridan and Peyton. and-
Yeah,
and see, then they'd be on the north, then they'll be coming into Ames on the north side.
finalized but not announced, I think. I think they worked through all the overnight or the pass through town last week or the week before to go get their official permission, which I don't think they were just doing it anyway, so it was more.
I just was reading tonight in the Jefferson paper, there, one guy following the route, and he did some scenarios, and to get to the 83 miles, he sends them up through Sheridan and Peyton and across
On
that way.
The county route of Boone back in Ames, makes sense.
Come over here and
I
then
think
he's-
March 13th is the official announcement for the full route.
They do that like that 30 or that be permission from the state or what?
They've already got the DOT permission is what they've been telling us. But I think we have some control once they come into our community, so we don't want them to have to jump
Yeah,
in.
right.
No.
Sounds like
My side street.
I have 30 is
Gonna
my
die.
plan. Get 'em
Good
completely off
for
71
you.
right away. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think it is.
just because there's a lot of hills and a lot of semis.
Oh, boy. The next morning's gonna be.
No,
we just gotta go into it with a positive attitude.
32 hours and it's over.
The night after the announcement, I sent out an email to all the dispatchers. I'm like, don't request
I didn't
vacation
use my
because
phone.
it's not getting approved.
Whoever agreed to it should be shot.
Nature's gonna weed out a lot of incompetence.
Yep. All right,
Oh.
anything else on the Greg Wright discussion other than
No.
good luck?
I kind of touched on the coalition, preparedness coalition, always meeting with EMS and law enforcement and the hospitals, public health. And it's been kind of quiet, which is nice. And our focus is school safety. So there's always a buzz topic. And this year is school safety. So just gonna keep hammering on the unified response. I got a text message from Brandon. Hey, can you do some training down in Coon Rapids with me next week and the following Wednesday? So I'm like, okay, jump right into that. So it's on everybody's mind. That's the state initiative. So then it barrels down to us. We have to do all the school safety assessments. And now they're putting their plans together. They want to do exercises. It's just everybody wants to get their ducks in a row. So, and then we hit on the storage of the shelter supplies and required PPE. I asked, we have to keep it, and they're like, yep, because if something happens, they just, well, you should have kept your stuff, so. I'm keeping enough, the kind of the clothy things, we did donate to Mission Honduras. Because they'll take anything And the airlines will basically ship that down, so the Kemper team and the Berrigan team were super excited to, like the white Hanes mask, like nobody's gonna wear the cloth ones. If anything, they asked for the N95s or the surgical masks, so I did donate a bunch of the, like the homemade Iowa Prison Industries gowns that nobody is ever gonna wanna wear, because if somebody else wanted it and could put it to good use in a third world country, good riddance. So anyway,
So basically, what did you end up keeping as far as the PPE stuff?
lots of gowns, like the
Gowns.
disposable gowns,
Okay,
lots of them in every single size. We have some Tyvek suits. We have lots of masks. I mean, there's probably 30,000 blue surgical masks. Lots of N95 masks, goggles. So we sorted through it again. So donate,
right.
move. The hand sanitizers like were expired, so I think those went to the schools just to, I mean, we've been storing it and then every time we move it, we look at it, so.
Okay,
And then, but that storage unit is full, like there's still the cots, there's still the bedding, there's still, cause you got all the sheltering supplies too, so.
okay.
Huh?
Anything else? I just want to touch on, and everybody saw it in the news, and it's something we need to keep in mind. The deal that's happening out in East Palestine, Ohio with the train derailment and those chemicals on them cars, because that stuff is going through Carroll and all the communities every day around here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that is a total nightmare. I mean,
Total nightmare.
Has Scott Johnson said anything to you about maybe revisiting any of that NIMS stuff regarding, he's real concerned about train derailment, and this is before Palestine happened.
yeah,
And has he said anything?
No,
About
with 2 new
revisiting?
ones, we'll put it out there. So we talked about this, the Region 5 hazmat is the hazmat team.
correct.
That's usually with the EMA and the 911 boards. But you're on these two, but they appointed Cindy to Region 5 hazmat. So that was just odd to us.
That's how it was before. though.
Because
I mean,
this board and
two people
911
like it.
is all of your fire chiefs and all of your towns.
Right. All your responders.
One thing I was gonna ask you about, I went to a meeting a couple months ago, and they were saying that if elected officials haven't been trained in NIMS and you have a disaster, you're not eligible for federal funding.
Okay.
Is there any way to, and I don't know what level it has to be up to.
We only have to be 100 and 700, which is online. So I'll just send out, because there's so many
If
new
you would,
people.
that'd be great. We've got
Just
council people.
send it out.
More new council next year.
And then that they have to turn their
Is
certificate.
it all of them or just whoever would normally respond, like the mayor, obviously?
I'm trained, but, because I was on it with the county.
It,
I
it's
assume
a-
it doesn't, there's no
Yeah.
expiration date on that.
No, there's
there's
not.
no
on this.
restrict- They just
But I know
want
I'm-
you so that people
But you're right
know.
about maybe.
Incident
3,000.
commander, communications, they just know the jargon.
Okay.
So
I would just, I hate to
last,
have something like that
Yeah.
happen, and then we go, oh, shoot, I wish we would have trained, so we could have. done
Yeah.
something."
Because-
I enjoyed it, Mike. I
Yeah.
think you'd like it. Yeah.
You have to have,
The training
because
is a little
first thing you
long.
would have is a unified command.
A little bit long.
It's self-
Type of
If
unit.
you go
It's
part that the
self-paced, so-
supervisors have to do the 700 level too.
Yeah, 100, 700.
They gotta do the 80.
We are not 300 and 400.
I think it's all those.
For 100, for a fire, it's 100.
I think it's gotta do the basic.
It's the
Unless-
basic
I don't
one.
remember any-
Just so that you know
Let's just change that.
the jargon. So,
Because they had problem, because the problem is just like out here on the railroad, it's leaking. And it might be going one direction with the leak, but the wind might be blowing the vapors the other direction.
yeah,
So now you've got a problem going both ways.
yeah,
And like-
the people required are the elected officials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like in Breda, the mayor
If you
and
could
the,
send something to
yeah.
me,
with the links.
But you're right.
And then
something's
everybody
gotta come
just-
Yeah.
down.
Because the hazard is now, but the leak, so you want to be downstream to stop that leak because that particular chemical is heavier than water.
Right.
So if you dam up the stream or whatever, and let the water flow over it, you can contain that material. Either with all kinds of different, I mean, straw bales, hay bales, anything, and do that. But yet you have to worry about where the vapor cloud is going because it's storm.
And the wind.
And if you look in the ERG book, it tells you all the symptoms that people are complaining about are in the book. Is all what the symptoms of what you can have if you get into that. So. I mean, it's, yeah, so everybody's gonna be on board for that deal. Hopefully it
And
never.
all the firemen already get it, law enforcement gets it,
Yeah.
public health, EMS, hospital staff. That's all in their requirement to work there. It would just be capturing our elected officials to make sure they're on the same
Yeah.
page. So I'll send it out. That way everybody has the links. And then I will just be like, hey, everybody has to turn it in. So we'll make everybody be accountable since we're getting reg bri. So, sound like a plan? Okay.
With that, is there anything else before we close the meeting?
So moved. Oh,
Yeah. I would entertain a motion to close the meeting. We have a first.
You can count on me.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Meeting's adjourned.
All right.
I'm really good at the last part.
There you go.
All right, I'll take the stream down, Jason.
Thanks, Dalton.
Oh, who was always really good at it? Wes? Wasn't it always Wes?
6 minutes over our